to call this video conditioning, and I don't know if it's the best word to describe what we're going to be talking about. A lot of people might use, the word brainwashing or the term brainwashing, but I think it'll do. I think it'll do. And it's this. I was thinking about this the other day, and it's been a while since I've talked about any of this stuff, and we know that in MK Ultra, a lot of people were given, ridiculous amounts of LSD and other drugs, combined with sleep deprivation and sometimes shock therapy. And what they would do is they would put these people in front of a television screen or, whatever, and they would, kind of inundate them with different images, whatever they were. You guys have probably seen some of the videos to where they had people looking at maybe violent things or whatever. And a lot of that stuff is probably, I'm only assuming because we don't have a lot of the data for it, that it was, alongside, basically the traumatic experience of being on those drugs. And, because what happens is when you have traumatic experience, a lot of you guys have heard of, that movie Split, where that guy had different personalities or whatever. And that kind of stuff happens during trauma. And some of the ideas that came out of what they were trying to do to people was basically to give them alters. And what would happen was they would have different personalities, and they would stimulate the person with different things, maybe, a sound or whatever, or a keyword. And they would, snap into this altered personality, and they become like an assassin or something, and they could, go ahead and do, different things for the government and have no memory of it. So if they were ever questioned or anything like that, they could never say, who did it to them or whatever, and they just basically have no memory of it. But I'm not focusing on that. I'm focusing on the technique that was used as far as, just them, the people being put in front of, television screens or whatever. And, with some of the things that we have in our modern day, I've talked about this before, about the spiritual reality of gang stalking. You don't have to, subscribe to it if you don't want. It's just my personal opinion. I think I've got a lot of evidence for it. And you see the world, if you go back in history, you have a lot of different, doctrines that popped up. Whatever they are, I'm not gonna condemn anybody right now. I'm not gonna go into biblical doctrine, but there's a lot of things that are just simply unbiblical. There's a lot of things that have to do with lies and deception. There's a lot of things in society that would suggest, along with biblical literature, that the world is being prepared for judgment. That this whole thing goes along with it. Okay, so here's what I'm getting at. So what do we have in every household basically in the world at this point? Well, everybody's got a television. Everybody's got, a flat screen TV or whatever. The computers now, we have handheld ones where people are on them all the time. They're watching all these different videos. A lot of people have, subscribed to the idea that attention deficit disorder is kind of, basically, derived from, all these commercials and different shows. And I mean, it was even back when I was a kid, you could be watching, something, maybe a scary movie or something that was very serious. And then all of a sudden you have this, commercial that is just a totally different mentality. It's got all this, happy music in it, and people are doing this and that. And it might be, selling toys for kids or whatever. It was just surreal. It was weird. And you're bumping from one thing to the next. And then, of course, you get back to your show. And, people, have been sitting around in front of these things ever since they came out. Before that, they had the radio. And so they were kind of getting conditioned in a sense that they were getting a lot of propaganda probably through that radio. And it was coming in through the ear gate to where they were hearing it. You guys have all heard of War of the Worlds, where everybody thought aliens invaded the world, right? They're all sitting there glued to their radios, and, they had this show and nobody knew it was fake. and everybody thought aliens invaded. Some people, I guess, even committed suicide because they were so scared. It's not funny, but they were so scared that the aliens were going to come and get them, right? And if you go into and Google some of the things that you learned in school that are false, that Christopher Columbus set out to prove the world was round and all these other things, they don't exist. Or that famous movie that Walt Disney came out with the lemmings, how the lemmings were all following each other down into the water, and everybody then finally found out that they were chasing these things. They were driving them all to that location. It was completely false. And there's a lot of things that are probably taught in schools now, obviously, in my opinion, evolution and a lot of other things that are just junk science. They are. And so you have indoctrination, and along with the television set, you have a lot of things that were introduced into our society. People are being conditioned. They're staring at this stuff. They're watching it. You guys all know about, back in, I think it was the 50s, where they had the national anthem, the national anthem, and they had, God is the government and all that stuff and all the subliminal stuff that was in. Who knows what's going on? They did a test. I can't remember if it was back in the 80s or not, but they put in between the frames of, in a movie theater, they put, little subliminal things that were so, quick that you couldn't really see it. Buy more Coke, eat more popcorn, and I guess the sales went up ridiculously. That's that's pretty hard evidence of the subliminal stuff that we can be basically subjected to, and we don't even know what's going on. But even if you don't go there, you've got all the stuff that's on TV, and you've got everything that as far as provocative programming. I mean, think about the shows that used to be on. Even when I was a kid back in the 70s, you had My Three Sons and everything, to where the guy was the head of the household. He was pretty smart. Everybody went to him for answers. He was a level-headed person. And now it's completely different. You got the Homer Simpson, as the head of the household, where the guy's, he doesn't know what's going on. He just wants his beer. He just wants to sit there on, don't bother him. He's too dumb to even know the answers to any questions. He just, that's kind of been the norm that we've, kind of accepted. You have a lot of things that, the religious community is talking about, as far as the breakdown of the family, okay? And, our society it's breaking down. If you want to get into the stuff like, customized programming, you have a lot of little tricks, and I talked about that involve what people call the Mandela effect, right? Where they've got things that, people swear they remember, right? I mean, everybody that looks into the Mandela effect has the same response, right? They remember the braces on Dolly for Moonraker. They remember Ed McMahon for Publishers Clearinghouse, and so on. And some of them are kind of explainable, but some of these things that people are dealing with, they have no explanation for it. And you've got all these weird theories about people, opening up time portholes and everything else. And I looked into that and come to find out, and I explained this in another video, that you have different versions of movies. And the ones that they sell people and the ones that they put out maybe on, television networks or in movie theaters were different. And if you're not paying very close attention, you're watching the movie and you just got some little minuscule detail that nobody's paying attention to, and you change it, and then everybody, they don't even notice it. You might even cut the movie short just a little bit, for a TV production or something like that, and people don't even notice it for decades, and then you throw it out there, and everybody thinks, something's wrong, and we've got portholes and everything else, and time travel and ridiculous stuff, and people they doubt themselves. And that's one of the other, ways to brainwash somebody and to gaslight them, right? Everybody's heard about the movie Gaslight, where the woman on there started to doubt herself because her husband was messing with her mind. Turning down the gas on the light. It's not dimmer in here, sweetheart. It's everything. You're just going crazy. And so she's freaking out. Watch the movie. It's pretty creepy. It's a very good example of somebody that's being messed with mentally. And so you've got this. Not only, like I said, do you have people being inundated with provocative, irrational, propaganda just to make them stupid. You have a lot of things that we don't even know about that probably have to do with subliminal messages and other things that people are being exposed to. They're staring at it all the time. Even there's even people that talk about just the flash rate, and I don't know exactly what that's called. I can't remember right now. Sometimes you forget things, but it's the flash rate of the TV. It has to do with the light coming off there and how that's actually designed to put somebody into a certain state of mind to where they're susceptible even more to the stuff that's on there, whether it's propaganda that you can actually discern or something that's subliminal. I can't remember what it's called right now. But this is pretty serious, and I'll admit right now, I got rid of, I didn't got rid of the flat screen. I got a 50-inch, and I'll play video games and stuff like that while I'm studying. And I haven't watched TV. I've watched a couple movies. I've watched a few movies. I haven't watched television since probably sometime, I think, around January 2019, literally. And I think my IQ has probably gone up significantly, believe it or not. Am I telling you that you can't watch, TV or cable? I'm not saying that you can't do anything. I'm suggesting that you don't. I'm suggesting that you be very careful of what you're watching. I'm suggesting that, it's basically the old proverb, junk in, junk out. If you're putting a bunch of things in your mind, and who knows what they are at this point, because don't fool yourself. There is an agenda, and like I said, if you don't want to subscribe to the spiritual reality, fine. Look at it however you want, because there's plenty of evidence. Like I said, MK Ultra was doing that, and you can look into that. And as far as the subliminal messages that were back in the 50s at the national anthem and so, that's all there. It's all there. I would recommend that you don't. I would recommend that you start studying, whatever. I personally think you should start studying God's Word. Mike Winger, Dr. Michael Brown, Soteriology 101, very good material. The Bible says in a diversity of teachers, there's wisdom. And, don't accept everything. Test things. Look into it. If you want to do that, study something else. Study, living off the grid or something like that. This world, like I've talked about with Agenda 21, is changing very, very rapidly. Okay, and right now we're looking at a possible civil war. Who knows what's going to happen? Inflation is probably going to skyrocket. We have all kinds of things that are coming on the scene. Like I said, with Agenda 21, you have different things like regionalization and everything like that, where there's going to be a lot of, things that the government's probably going to be controlling that they're not controlling now. Who knows what they're going to do with this vaccine? Who knows how that's going to pan out? This stuff could, we're talking about, basically a possibility that we're headed into the tribulation period. I would suggest that you study that stuff. Study how to make, solar power. Study how to wire up the battery banks. Study, inverters. Study, all that stuff, the charge controllers and everything. Look into that. Look into, composted toilet. Look into how you make your own septic system. Look into all those different things, because, this could be a reality sooner than you think. Guys, be good to yourselves. Be safe.